Welcome to the 14 Going on 41 podcast. I'm Arvind, and joining me is my delightful co-host, the world-schooling, Gen Z speaking, ocean-loving, always mogging, bad at mathin', now podcasting, Kiara Rana.
It's me. I'm Kiara. I'm that world-schooling, bad at mathing, curious 14-year-old. And I'm joined by my very wise, very experienced, bad at joking, or good at bad joking, 41-year-old co-host, Arvind Iyengar.
I heard good, I heard experience, I heard wise. I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you, Kiara.
It wasn't, but okay. And each week, we speak to guests who have taken the road less traveled.
That's right. And today's guest has definitely done that. She's had a few fork in the road moments, a bunch of unconventional paths, and it's ended in a place which we're both very excited about because she actually does something in the space that is food, and we love eating.
That's true. Today's guest is Ruchyeta Bhatia, who is the founder of Love Cheesecake.
I'm a big fan of love. I'm a big fan of cheesecake. You put those two together, that sounds amazing.
It's an amazing combination. And while I was prepping for this episode, I just kept coming back to the word cheesecake. And it really reminded me of that one Friends episode, the one with all the cheesecakes. Except in this podcast episode, we shall not be eating cheesecake off a floor.
Well, the night is young. Ruchi's just got here. It's possible that she has cheesecake. So you never know. And the floor is all right, you know.
Under any circumstances, you should not be eating anything off the floor.
Really
no
depends
matter
on
how good it is.
Really depends on the cheesecake. Have you had Love Cheesecake?
Not yet,
really good.
but I do love poetry by Love Cheesecake. So Ruchyeta has also expanded into the food business, and she's opened Poetry by Love Cheesecake.
Now, poetry is a bit harder for me. Like I get most of it, but like sometimes the words are really hard at these fancy poems. Don't quite follow it all the way through.
Not talking about that poetry, but speaking about words that are kind of hard to understand. I think it's time.
Is it time?
Yes.
For our Gen Z word of the day. Okay.
Okay, so today's word is eight.
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 Okay. You've taught me 6, 7.
Saying
Eight
it
feels.
wrong.
8 feels. 6, 7. Yeah.
That's better.
8 feels like a natural extension. So 6, 7, 8.
No. It's ATE8.
ATE8 as in something that you've eaten, or just like Gen Zers can't spell EIGHT and they just get it wrong?
No, neither of those things. It has, although this episode's going to be a lot of talk about food, this in Gen Z context, ATE has nothing to do with food. It's a compliment.
I know it's a compliment. It means if someone has killed it or they're doing really well and you want to give it, you're saying they ate it all up.
Yes.
Right?
And you can often say, ate and left no crumbs. So you did something so well, there's nothing left to criticize.
I mean, even if people do criticize, you know what they say. Eater's gonna eat. Taylor Swift song.
I'm just going to shake off that joke, okay? But Ruchyeta, her journey has 8 and her desserts do too.
Okay. I would give them a 10, not just an 8, but I can't wait to get it on the pod. So we'll be back after this with Ruchyeta Bhatia.
We're back and we are joined by Ruchyeta Bhatia, the visionary founder and CEO of Love Cheesecake, and which is one of Mumbai's top and premium dessert outlets. And you've actually opened many outlets all across the city. It's amazing. You've been featured on many platforms like Vogue, like Elle, and like Filmfare.
Have we?
Sounds like it.
And
Kiara does her research.
I'm very, very excited to have you on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm very excited here. I'm excited to speak to the both of you because I'm getting this perspective of 14 and 41 and everything that's in between.
Kiara usually goes up and is able to cover a wide range. I can definitely punch down. So I can cover like 20, 13, 12, 7, 8 apparently, or 6, 7. There you go. But no, it's great to have you on the pod. Thank you, first of all, for all the amazing cheesecakes that I've had at Love Cheesecake, but also great food that I've had at Poetry. This podcast is all about those fork in the road moments. And, we felt it would be appropriate since you work in the restaurant business and know a thing about forks or two.
Yeah.
And maybe spoons and knives too. But before we get into your fork in the road moment, Kiara, you have a question that you like to start off with most, I guess.
So, when you were 14 years old, did entrepreneurship come to mind? Like, how did you envision your life looking?
Wow, I think when I was 14, I came from a place or an era where I feel like everything was very limited. The scope of things for us was limiting, and everything felt like more ceilinged. It wasn't as open-ended as it is today. So for the large part, I have this grudge against my parents because they were very involved with what my brother was going to do and how his life would pan out. And they had this faith, trust. She'll figure it out, right? So what that gave me then was the freedom to sort of decide what I wanted to do. But at 14, I think all I know was that I was very conscientious of how I was doing things. And I was quite ambitious, I think. That's what my friends from school tell me. That
at 14?
They say, I mean, it's funny how they say this to me now and they say, you always had that, you're going to do something. I didn't know that about myself.
But what was ambition like at 14? Were you like, oh, I'm going to run the country?
No, it's like, so if you're given, responsibility as simple as you need to get to school by 7:00 for like an annual day, something, if you're looking at the lights for the annual day or the music for the annual day, I would be there by 7:15 and I would have everything in place before people showed up. I wasn't one of those, walking in at 7:30, rubbing my eyes, trying to figure out, okay, where do I start? I wasn't that kid ever.
You're one of those.
I was one of those. I was one of those.
School captain, head girl.
No, I didn't make it to any of those things because clearly my interpersonal skills were not so strong, I guess, at that point. But I was just very conscientious. Yeah.
And so conscientious 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Who didn't have any specific career plans at that time.
No.
I mean, not like we did much at 14. Kiara at 14, I'm amazed by the kind of stuff that 14-year-olds today do.
Yeah.
But then you went and studied at Jai Hind, where a lot of cool people have studied. And then at some point you worked in marketing, you worked with Ogilvy, you worked at Nielsen.
Yeah.
That wasn't really the dream, was it?
No, I barely worked there. I got campus placed with AC Nielsen and I was very excited about it. And all along, so, as this 14, 15, 16 age, in again that era, and I say that era because I feel like that life was so different from what it is now. So at that point, there was this usual route of, study hard, get into a good college, go and do an MBA, go and get a job. And I came from a fairly salaried sort of parental background. The grandfathers, though, were very entrepreneurial. But the parents and the immediate family was very salaried and very corporate.
The entrepreneurship bug skipped a generation.
Absolutely skipped a generation. And there was no talk about it either. So it didn't even occur to my mind that that's an option. So I got campus placed and I was very excited about it. And I joined AC Nielsen. And
is it because it had AC in it? Because back then I was like, oh, fan, it's hot in Bombay. A place that has AC in its name must be.
I just got a job. Yeah, I was happy I got a job. It was one of the fairly okay paying jobs at that point. And I said, okay, it's one step closer to the dream MBA that I'm going to go and do. I worked there for about 8-9 months. And very quickly on, about 3-4 months into it, I had a great boss. I had a great sort of, he was 26 and he had come from the US, and the mandate to him, I believe, was he had to set up shop for AC Nielsen, the back end here. So it was a bunch of 8 or 10 of us, 21-year-olds straight out of college who were doing this together. So it sort of seemed like, an extension of college because you're all these youngsters getting together and there's no hierarchy and there are no layers and it's just a flat, simple structure. We had a beautiful bungalow in the middle of Andheri somewhere.
Wow.
It was a ground plus one and we had the terrace where we would have lunch and chill, and it was a great, happy place. But very quickly I realized that this is not preparing me for life or for that MBA that I want to go do or whatever. And I need to do something more. And I remember also like the peer group that I hung with at that point was doing very interesting things because they were a bunch of well-educated people like yourself, and in smart companies and doing smart work. And I kept comparing and saying, what am I doing and what are they doing and how is this ever going to pan out for me? So I thought advertising will be more interesting. Thankfully, I had a terrible boss there. Okay. It's horrible. And then on day 2, I quickly realized, oh my God, I'm in the wrong place. Day 2.
Like, this is like really a bad boss.
Literally.
It was like 24 hours done. Like,
I was like, I didn't have a desk. I didn't have a place to work. I was just hanging around. And then again, I was not the kind to just hang around and do nothing. So I was like, this is not getting me anywhere. And day 2, I realized, okay, 10 months in one job, 2 days in another job. Nobody's giving me a job after this. So I need to think of something else. And then that's when this idea of let me do something of my own happened. It was a chance conversation with my brother who was studying in the US at that point, and he had gone and done something called paintball. And he was explaining what
activity?
it was as an activity. He had done it, he did it, for fun and as an activity. And he was talking to me about his day and how he went and played and how much fun it was. And I said, this is not here, and this is something that I can bring back. So I packed my bags and I went in the middle of still working with Ogilvy. I packed my bags and I went to California. I hunted down one person who was willing to teach me the ropes of how a paintball field and the paintball equipment works. He had been in the business for about 40 years.
But sorry, I need to go back. I'm still mind blown by this. You had one conversation about paintball.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I'll do this.
Yeah. What does it take to go figure? It's still in that nascent stage where you're trying to figure out, will this work? Will this won't?
That's impressive.
I think I think the one thing as an entrepreneur you have is the spirit of I will make it work. So it's an idea, and as long as the idea really clicks in your head, and it really clicked because it was something that was not happening here. Nobody had ever thought about it. It was high adrenaline and it was fun. It was a time where, you would see more outdoor activities happening. And apart from the cricket and football, there was really nothing else. So I went there, and I went there for about 2 or 3 weeks, I remember. I stayed with a cousin. I borrowed a friend's car there. And I drove all over California and tried to figure out what paintball is, working in different fields, collecting different equipment, came back, imported all that equipment here. It got stuck in customs.
I mean, you bring a bunch of guns over.
Yeah, exactly. And then I remember at 20, I was 20, still 21, I think. And I went up to the commissioner of customs at that point, and with these photos of various people in India, including the Rahul Gandhi and the likes of him playing the game. And I said, here, this is legit and it's a sport and, this is how it's played. And I got letters from, the companies abroad to say this is like a sport. Got all that equipment cleared.
That's impressive.
My uncle was kind enough to lend me space for free in Lonavala, which is an hour and a half from here. And I ran a paintball field there for about 4 years. And apart from running that field, which is the permanent structure, we also did a lot of corporate training, did this activity all across for employee engagement, etc., across the country. So I also drove once from Bombay to Puri, 1,800 kilometers with all that equipment at the back. Yeah, my dad was super supportive. So my dad drove with me up and down. And then I did a lot of, that was one trip that we did together. We did a couple of trips together, and he was supportive of the entire thing throughout, and he really did a lot for me during that. And
I assume you quit Ogilvy at some point in the middle of all this.
I did. After I was sure that my equipment is coming and everything, I went to them and I said, thank you very much. This isn't working for me and I have better ideas. So, yeah.
How many days was this, or months was this?
It was in total, I worked with Ogilvy for about 5 months.
Not bad. 4 months and 29 days after you decided I need to move on. So, good for persevering. And how did people react to, you said your dad was supportive, but how did people react to, corporate job, this is what everyone else is doing to, I'm just going to figure this out.
I think happiness first and excitement first, and work shouldn't feel like work, I always believed. And my parents have always been supportive of, what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, as long as I believe in it completely. The initial reaction for my dad has always been, no, you can't, you shouldn't, this is the bad idea. But you always need one person who's more on the cynical side. And my mom would always be like, yeah, go for it. Let's do this.
My wife hangs out with me all the time because you do need that cynic every now and then. So,
yeah. So I had that balance in my life at home. But having said that, I think once I jumped into something, they really supported it through and through. And I don't care about everybody else then.
And how was it? Like, you're a 21-year-old running your own business, trying to figure out cash flows, trying to figure out how to get equipment.
The funny thing is actually, and I skipped that part. So before I started the paintball field, I actually went to my parents saying, I don't want to do this job anymore and I want to start a microbrewery. So it was a very large investment and they thought I was crazy. And they said, at 21, you can't start a pub and a microbrewery. It's not happening.
But 21 is legal drinking age, right? So
was it at that time? I don't think now.
Not anymore?
No, I don't think. I think it's 25. It was expensive. It was a very big investment. And I said, okay. Also at that point, I realized, the back of my mind, I had this thing of, wanting to do something with the food business or the beverage business. And I had that sort of inkling that I want to do that.
Where did that come from? The food, beverage?
I think the love for food. So very early on, I was cooking at home. Okay. So I had, and as early as when I was like 8 or 9, I had 3 brothers at home. Like my cousins would come over because they stayed opposite and my own brother. And I remember at this like age of 8 or 9 sitting and making dosas for them. Like I was never a baker or never like into cakes or the sweeter stuff or the typical like what people would do.
Sure.
I would do like hectic omelets and dosas. I remember dosas.
What's a
like
hectic omelet?
With a lot of like stuff and then, like folding it beautifully. And I was obsessed with like folding it. Like it has to come out perfect. And if it's not, then it's no fun. Like then it's just not worth eating.
It's like a perfect omelet, but it's like got all the work.
And it has to be stuffed with so much. Like it has to be this perfect stuffed omelet.
Okay.
But I think dosas was like my thing.
I'm a fan.
I can still teach it to like everybody because I do it so perfectly and I'm so like particular about the way it's done.
Out of curiosity, like what's the color? Is it brown? Is it white? Like what's the perfect color and what's the right?
It needs to be brown and it needs to be crisp on the outside and soft on the inside.
Okay. That is perfect.
Yeah. So I had these 3 brothers who would just eat nonstop and I'm sitting and like toiling away in the kitchen, but I would love it. So I had this thing of wanting to be in the kitchen. I think that's a big thing. Like not everybody likes to be in a hot kitchen to do things. And then, of course, it went on to, making more hectic things like making a lasagna for the family or making an elaborate Asian sort of wok dish or whatever. And I loved it. I loved it all along till I started the restaurant business and I had chefs who did all of this. And then I lost the confidence because I was like, my God, this is a complex. Like, this is way more complex than I took it for.
You're talking about making all these things and starting off at 8 or 9. I'm 14 and dosas are about the only thing I know how to make. And they're from the ID dosa batter. And I just need to put it into the pan. And that's the only thing. And I'm sure my parents would really appreciate if I learned how to make some other things.
It's fun. You should just get into it. Yeah.
I should.
I think if you also seem to crack the dosa, like the crispy on the outside, soft on the, that's like the Bangalore dosa, right? And to make that at home is an art.
It's about the tawa being at the right temperature.
And the tawa being of the right material. Maybe it needs to be some cast iron.
The cast iron one. Yeah.
There you go, see?
And then just when it's really, really hot, you sprinkle some water on it and cool it off just to the surface. It's a whole...
I feel like there's a new brand of Love and Cheesecake. Dosas by Love and Cheesecake.
Yeah, one more.
And you could actually then get into the chef aspect of things.
Yeah, about that also.
So, okay, so you've got this paintball business.
Yes.
Running for 4 years.
4 years. 4 years.
Sounds like it ran reasonably well for it to have at least lasted 4 years.
It was great. I saved up a lot of money because I think again somewhere at the back of my mind, I felt like that's the money I'm going to take and go back to the microbrewery business. And I did a lot of research about the microbrewery business. But at that point, there were restrictions and red zones, etc. in Bombay. So you couldn't do it in Bombay. And I remember at that point, like a lot of these had started in like, Delhi or Gurgaon and Bangalore, etc. But with Bombay, it was still a problem. But anyway, so I did that. I ran that for 4 years very successfully. And then unfortunately, circumstances, and I lost the place that the field that I had and the space that I had. It was around the same time that I also got married and took a break from working for about 2-3 months. And then that sort of leads you to think, okay, what next? Do I want to go somewhere else with this? Do I want to do something else with this? Or I have enough money and I can just go do what I want now.
But paintball didn't feel like the calling.
No, now when I look at it, it doesn't feel like a business that, I look at business so differently now than I did then. It was fun and games then. There was no thought of really where I'm going to go with it, how big I'm going to make it, because the money came fairly easy. There wasn't enough downside to it. So it just felt it's too good to be true for too long.
Because that sounds like a great business, which is profitable. You
Yeah.
don't have to think too much about it. It grows on
Yeah.
its own. I mean,
Yeah. But life's not like that. So you know that, there will be finally a big pitfall and then you're going to have to deal with that. And that's really honestly what happened eventually, right? I mean, the industry peaked for a bit and then it died because it just became boring, mundane after a point for everybody who was in the business. So.
paintball injuries, apparently.
Yeah?
My niece went paintballing 3 days ago. And like the equipment she needed, she was in Singapore.
Okay.
And I was with her the day she was going. She's like, oh, I need this equipment. I need this. She's worried about getting hit. Apparently, you need to protect the neck. You need the protective eyeglasses, etc., etc. So she seemed quite excited and petrified at the same time. So it seems like
was she badly bruised everywhere?
I took a flight before I saw her after that. So hopefully she's still there when I'm back. Praying for you.
Okay. Yeah. It hurts.
Okay.
It does hurt.
I've done it once and I'm more a laser tag person, which doesn't really hurt because it's not real lasers.
Yeah, also that's a really small space typically, laser tag compared to this. This is a huge field. Yeah, I haven't played it either.
What?
Yeah. No,
How did you not play it after running the...
Because it hurt. I would see people bruised. No way. I don't like pain.
They should call it paintball.
Yeah, I agree. Drop the T. Yeah.
Okay, so not the calling, had its peak, did something else. You'd saved up enough money. How did Love and Cheesecake come to life?
So, like I said, I believed that I wanted to be a chef at that point. And I was all in it. So I applied to the Culinary Institute of America.
The CIA?
And I got in. And luckily for me, they asked for a 6-month work internship. So I joined the Marriott group of hotels. And I did a 6-month traineeship where I started with veg prep and peeling onions and cutting and chopping. And then I went to the meat section and actually like deboning and descaling fish and all of that. And then I saw the hot kitchens. And I kept looking at those guys and I said, I don't know whether I can do this.
Have you seen the TV show The Bear?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you should watch it. You'd love it. My wife is really into this.
Okay.
But it's about a guy who's trying to convert a old Chicago-style restaurant into a Michelin-star restaurant.
Okay.
But it's got like one episode where a guy is just cleaning forks and the other day is just doing something else. And
this is not the guy who loses the brother and therefore has to take over.
Yes, this is the one.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's very good.
Yeah, it is. Oh God, that's like, yeah, it is so the industry. So yeah, so I also then at that point realization hit, and that's my fork for you where I don't want to be a chef. I don't have the discipline or the talent to be a chef, and I like the business part of it more. And I think I was better at the business. So I said thank you very much to CIA. Didn't go. Took my money. Took a chef from Marriott. Got him to be my partner and started the business back in 2012.
Wow.
From what you said, I think I can guess the answer. But what was more scary? I mean, starting a business for the first time with the paintball company, or starting over with Love and Cheesecake.
I don't think either of them were as scary as now when I need to start thinking of scaling up from 25 to 250.
I can see why people said you were ambitious.
250 going to 1,000.
Oh, there you go. Doesn't stop. By the end of this podcast, we might be at 10,000.
No, 1,000 is when I'll hang my boots and say, okay, I've made it. I did what I got set out to do.
Is that what you believe you've been set out to do?
I've had that in my head for very long. And it's just a number that's come to my head. Like, yeah.
So you have found your calling now?
Oh, yes. Yes. I don't do anything with the kitchens. My partner manages the kitchens and he does so beautifully. I'm just the nitpicker and the taste tester. But otherwise,
that sounds fun.
Yeah, it is. But I like the business aspect of it more. It's more fun. It's a very, very complex business. But it has its ups and downs and it has its good days and bad days. But it's fun.
I mean, restaurant businesses are tough.
It is.
And you have scaled from, what was it, a small kitchen in Bandra?
Yes, 300 square foot space where we lived literally 18 hours a day together. To now where we have a 15,000 square foot building. We've got 25 outlets. We've got about 450 people we work with.
Wow.
Yeah, we have a ton of cheesecake going out every day.
Oh, how much is a ton? I mean, is it literally a ton?
It's literally close to a ton.
Oh, wow.
Give or take, depending on the weekday.
It's a lot of cheesecake. I hope that's not one person eating it because that seems like a recipe for disaster. But it is good cheesecake, so I could say
Thank you.
that happening. So Walk us through like just the early days, right? When you're
Yeah.
in this 300 square foot kitchen and you're like how did you even stumble upon cheesecake actually?
This happened to be a chance dinner with some friends. Were you there also? I can't remember if you were there.
If you were inspired and you associate me with that memory, I'll take it.
Maybe you were there also. But there was this dinner that I was having with my husband and his friends.
It's a good chance I was there. Your husband doesn't have that many friends. So
somebody mentioned cheesecake on that table. And somebody said, it's a great product. And I don't even think I was thinking of Love and Cheesecake at that point. I was just thinking of doing dessert. No, this was before I was supposed to go to CIA. And they were just talking about cheesecake and it stuck in my head. And then my partner had gone to Australia to work for a bit. And he was there for about a month and a half, where it just happened. He made cheesecakes for all of that 1.5 months that he was there. And so when he came back, he said, let's do cheesecake. And I said, let's do cheesecake. And then that's how we did Love and Cheesecake.
Serendipity.
Yeah. So much of it in my life.
And what was it like for you in the early days of Love and Cheesecake? Like running the business, setting it up? What did that look like?
So we got there at 6:30 a.m. every day. We swapped, we cleaned, we cooked, we baked, we packed, we spoke, we ordered. We did everything, just the two of us. And there was nothing that we had the money, but we were being very cautious about it, about how we spend, etc. So we took each day as it comes. I remember we had just opened shop and we had no plans. Okay, it was a very different time from now, where now there's so much more information out there, and there's also so much pressure to make noise. We didn't have any of all of that. For the first 9 months, we didn't even have a branding or logo or anything. We sold our cheesecake in simple white plain boxes, unbranded, with no name, nothing. Because I think it was more my partner who believed that people need to recognize the taste of the product and not the branding.
The product should speak for itself.
The product needs to be the hero. Until today, I believe that the product is the hero, because I don't believe we've got any of the marketing right. It's just the product that we have built this whole company on. The first early days were doing literally everything by yourself. We were in the back of a building on the ground floor in Bandra. And we would put out a sweet little note if we went out for a delivery, because we would take whatever we had to deliver. It could be a small cake, a big cake, whatever. We would put it in the back of the car and we would take it. I was the driver. He was the delivery boy. And we would go deliver our...
How were you getting orders? Like, how did people hear about it?
So very early on when we started, we got discovered by this really popular at that time local sort of like a
blogger?
I don't know what at that point what they were even called. I don't know if they were bloggers or what, but they did put out a lot of these
influencers of yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds scary, but yeah. So this was Brown Paper Bag, and this girl, Sneha Ulal, I feel like we owe so much of our success to her, strangely, where she discovered this hole in the wall space in one of the late evenings. And Amit would actually live there also, because we couldn't afford housing separately for him, and he was not from Bombay, so he would also live there. So we had packed off for the day at about 9 o'clock. And I think the board outside may have still been on or whatever. And she came in at 9, and then Amit quickly changes back into his chef clothes, opens the door and says, yes, what can I sell to you? Then she picked up some of the stuff and had a conversation with him. And the next day we saw that there's a whole big article written about us in Brown Paper Bag. And it was lovely. And then it just didn't stop after that. It was great.
You were discovered. And all because
literally
at 9 p.m. post closing hours.
Yeah. So we never said no. I think it came to us naturally. We never said no for anything. Like if anybody wanted anything, we'd just say, yes, we will make it.
Any flavor?
Absolutely any flavor.
What's the craziest flavor you made?
Oh God, the craziest flavor? No, but I have a very funny story about the red velvet cheesecake, which is what we became so popular for. Okay, so the neighbor in the building had come in and said, I want a red velvet cupcake. And this is in 2012, and this whole concept of red velvet was very new or whatever. And Amit has this hotel background all along. And in any of the hotels that he's been in, they have never made something like that. Okay. And so when I told him, okay, they want a red velvet cupcake, he's like, what is that? What do you want me to do with that? So I took him to a few shops around the place. And I said, this is one place and this is how it tastes. And this is another place and this is how it tastes. And this is what we need to make. And he just put his foot down. He said, I'm not making this crap. What is this nonsense? This is color and this is, this. And I'm not making this. And I remember we were fighting at Carter Road about it. And he finally told me, you need to go and get some random chef because any chef worth his salt is not going to make this red velvet thing for you. And I said, I don't care. I want it done. I'm going home now. And tomorrow morning when I come, I want it done. How you want to make it is your problem. And the next morning, when I came back to the kitchen at about 6:30, he had 3 variations of a red velvet cheesecake.
Okay.
And they were very different from what we had tasted the previous day. He had put his own little magic in it, and he has.
Are these all proprietary secrets, or is
it
there
is? It is, and he has his little magic ingredients that he puts, and it was amazing. And from then on, the red velvet became so popular. I think it put us on the map. So there was a point when people would call us and say, can I get you want to place an order for a red velvet cheesecake, but they would say, can I get a love and cheesecake, please? We're like, no, sorry, we're not for sale, but sure, I'll get you a red velvet cheesecake.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And a flavor that the chef hadn't even heard of.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's Amit for you. You throw a challenge at him and he will. That's why we get along so well, actually.
Because you're both good at taking on challenges. You're focused on the product, which means it's a super scalable business. Because if you're just built on marketing, that's not sustainable,
I guess.
And so,
yeah.
How do you then go from one outlet, 2 outlet, high degree of control to, okay, now 25 outlets? How do you just make sure that quality is maintained?
We have a centralized model for the dessert and the bakery, etc. Everything comes out from one place. We've had the chefs work with us. Most of the senior chefs have worked with us for a minimum of 8-9 years now. Back in 2012, we had these 2 girls who joined us who were actually building workers' children, where an NGO sent them to us. Because also at that point, we didn't believe anybody who's even, halfway knows their work will come work with us in such a small space. So we reached out to an NGO to say, do you have any kids who would want to work and build a career? And they sent these 2 girls, lovely people. And I remember Amit calling me and saying, they've sent these girls, but they don't know anything. I don't even think they know the difference between salt and sugar. And where do I start with them? And I said, okay, you know what? Let's take them. We'll figure it out. And I knew this from before because I had worked with him at Marriott, that he was very good at teaching because he had the patience and he had that sort of leadership and getting a team together and the team sticking and everybody would, be in love with him. So we took these girls and they still work with us today.
Wow.
They lead our kitchens. They are now married, have children, bought houses of their own, on their own before they got married. And so we've got so many people like that who've been working with us for more than 8-9 years.
That's a fantastic story.
And I think that's where the strength of the product, sort of that consistency, is carried forward. And the culture, I think, in the company is carried forward.
And so that love is also internal in the culture.
Yes. We always say that we're one big family of 450 people.
And how do you maintain that culture? Because as families get bigger, it's hard to scale that culture. At some point, it starts becoming process, operational.
Yes.
And if you do want to get to 1,000 stores, you're going to be, okay, you may not be.
I would like to build more process, though. I think we're less process and more family as of now. But I think it's about everybody working towards the same goal. And as long as that mission and that goal is very clear and amplified enough for everybody, we all know what we're working towards. So every day it's just about working more and more towards the goal. They're seeing the growth. And it's exciting for everybody. It's not just our personal sort of goal or our personal, achievements, or we're not Amit and I are not greedy as people. We want to take everybody along and do this together. And it doesn't even. I mean, I understand that you can't even do this alone. You need the team and you need to build that village. But it's also just coming from a place that we love to build that village. We love to take people along with us on this journey.
That's amazing. And then my last bit on this before we move to our next segment. Bootstrapping to start off with.
Still bootstrapping.
Did you go out and get investor capital? Have you
No, we're still
grown this on your
bootstrapped.
own all the way through?
Yeah, all the way through. It's still all company owned, company operated.
No investor capital.
No investor capital. We've just been growing on accruals and on our own.
Wow, I'm a big fan of such businesses. I mean,
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of folks who are just like, oh yeah, we just raised 5 million, now 10, now 20, now this, and you grow and you grow.
Yeah.
And that is a way to, fast track growth.
Yeah.
But I think there is something special about, we care about unit economics. We're going to go through these accruals. We're going to do this on our own, and we're going to maintain that level of control.
It comes from a fair amount of discipline. It's hard on some days because you always need to decide whether you want to spend on growth or building a team and building processes, because everything is expensive. For us, I think Amit and I have always been excited about growth, but growth in the sense that, this is the right unit for us and therefore we are going to take it. So if you ask me, what's your business plan for the next 5 years or whatever, I don't have anything structured, because I may want to go open 50 outlets or 50 stores, but if I don't get the right locations, then I'm not going to open them. I'm going to, and if I say that I want to open 10 this year and I get 20, then by all means, I'll figure a way to go, because I found 20 great spots, I'll figure a way to open it. So it's more about what is right for the business rather than what's looking right on paper.
That makes a lot of sense. Excellent. Do you have any more questions, Kiara?
No, I think it's time to move on to our next segment. We call it the 14 going on 41 what if segment.
Okay.
Yeah. So join us after the break and we will be doing that. We are back and here for the 14 going on 41 what if segment. So this segment's going to be all what if questions, and just going back to the fork in the road moments and creating alternate scenarios. What if things had changed? What if this had not happened? And, asking you about what you think your life would look like in these alternate scenarios. So I'm going to start off with the first question, which is, what if you could, time travel to when you were 14 years old? What advice would you give your 14-year-old self?
I think I like the way my life has played out. There's almost nothing that I would like to change, because I think life is a sum total of a lot of different experiences, and I've had great ones and there have been learnings. So I think I would say just be patient, continue to persevere.
What if you'd stayed in that job you loved so much at Ogilvy, and you'd stayed in the corporate path and hadn't, taken the plunge to paintball?
Though I'd be a very unhappy person. I would feel like I shortchanged myself. I could have done so much more. So no, I wouldn't have stuck around for too long. I would have then gone the other way and just taken a sabbatical at 22. I was a terrible employee, I think. I couldn't have survived the corporate world at all, because I was brutally honest. I was very challenging. And I never liked my bosses too much.
Sounds like a lot of people I've worked with.
What if you had never gone to Marriott with that traineeship? How would that have affected Love and Cheesecake?
Sometimes I actually believe that it may have been a good idea to go do that 2-year course at CIA. It would have been interesting because I realized that in the last 5-6 years, education in this particular industry, so before 2020, education in this industry have that much respect in India. So I was always told that, you can go and spend all this money studying abroad, but when you come back, what are you going to do? Because the industry is so weak. There's no money in it. As a chef, you don't get paid very well and all that. And this is, 18, 19, 20. But in the last 3, 4, 5 years, I've seen so much of it change, where the educated chefs are really getting their dues. They're being recognized and they're starting really beautiful restaurants in the city. So part of me feels like it may have panned out differently, but nicely as well.
And CI is, most prestigious in the world.
And maybe I would not have even come back, or I would have been somewhere else in the world. And then life would have taken, its own course.
There's a part of you of these chef aspiration dreams that you could be like,
No, the chef aspiration I'm very realistic about. I don't have the chef aspect of it, but I would have liked to study business more. I feel like that would have brought in more structure and discipline to the way I function. Right now, it's more about what I understand and, the learnings over time, but there's been no structure really in any part of my education. And that's something that I really miss. I also miss that network of people from the same industry. I don't have that either. And I think lastly, I feel that education in the right places gives you a different sense of confidence. You carry yourself with more confidence when you have that backing in place.
Slight pivot on what ifs to going back to your paintball days. Now, it was successful. Didn't feel like a business, but like you did well. Yeah. What if it hadn't done well?
I've always believed that I'd make it work, right? I haven't ever gone to a place where I've been negative about something and the people who know me well make fun because I'm very, very overtly positive of things. And I always believe that it will always pan out for the best. And I never look at the pitfalls. And that I feel like even if there are pitfalls and if I have failed at something, I just take it in my stride as a positive and still continue to move on. That's my personality. So I don't think that, if that hadn't worked, I would have probably found some way to make it work. If there was absolutely no way to make it work and all doors felt like they had closed, I would have found some door that opened.
Wow, that's an incredible sense of belief, which is amazing actually.
What if after those 4 years you said that you lost the space and other things happened which caused you to consider shutting that? What if all of that hadn't happened? Do you think you'd have continued for a lot longer?
I would have probably not continued it for very long after because I think I love, that business was the love for making money, whereas this business is the love for business and growing something. There's like so much more that I can do here. There's so much more learning. And I feel like this is really a real business compared to that for me. That was literally just fun and games. It didn't feel like a business. Whereas this really feels like, I'm building something and this has obviously more growth prospects to it.
Okay. So that's a good piece to go into with the next what if, which is what if tomorrow you don't get to 1,000 stores, you're at 100 stores, 80 stores, but private equity firm, Mr. Moneybags comes in and makes you this gigantic offer to buy out your business, would like you to exit as well, but you're set for life with that, but you haven't hit your 1,000 store. Right? What if you get this offer in front of you? How will you react?
I think I would say thank you very much. It's very heartening to know that we have built something as beautiful that you to want to buy. However, I don't think we would sell out so early. I think it would be very, limiting because there's a really long runway to this. And we might as well cash out at the highest capacity that we can take it.
Very cool. I don't think I have too many more questions, so we can actually go into our last game. Kiara already talked about legacy a little bit, but we play something called the happiness rating game. Okay, so it's a pretty simple. You list out a bunch of parameters. You just have to rate them from 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. And what you're rating is how important they are to your happiness. Okay. So we'll have a few factors. I'll go with the first. How important to you is fame?
With the license of responsibility, about 3.
The next one is wealth.
Wealth is different from money. Wealth is very important. Money is slightly of the lower end.
What's the distinction?
Wealth is like the bigger money, which comes after a journey. So I'm very happy to go through the journey to get that wealth. Money is something that I can make today. Like if I sold it now, is I would make money. But that's not really interesting for me. It's the longer game that's more interesting for me.
Got it. And where do you rate that?
Wealth, 5.
5. Okay. How about legacy?
Brand, legacy, 5. Okay. The next is 5, 6.
How about impact?
It's sort of an overabused word. And I think impact is something that, everything that you do has impact, positive or negative. So good impact in the right measure and in the right form or whatever is good. So 5 on that. Okay. The next, don't feel pressured by any way because you may or may not consider a friend. But the next one is friendships and connections. Limited, few, but really, really deep and strong. Like it's very important.
Also 5 then. You've got lots of 5s, Ruchi. I'm going to ask you to stack rank and prioritize.
Tourism, please.
Do we have another?
Yes. It's fun. Everybody wants to have fun in their lives. That's what we're living for. So 5, but I mean, if fun is an everyday thing, fun is not going, skydiving and having fun, but fun is just like even work is fun.
So you had friends a little lower. You had fame a little lower. So let's stack rank. Number 1 is health.
They're going to health at number 1. Family is number 2.
Okay.
Fun is number 3.
Okay. Fun was high up there for you, and you're clearly doing that. Yeah, this podcast was a lot of fun. So thank you, Ruchi.
Thank you. I had fun as well.
We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs. We had a lot of love. And hopefully after this, we'll have some cheesecake.
Yes, we will. Join us after the break as Arvind and I talk about our takeaways from this episode.
And we're back to wrap up, Kiara. But before we get to our takeaways, I have to tell you about something from the good old days. And it's going to be about desserts.
I'm actually kind of excited for this good old days, or not dreading it, because desserts are desserts, no matter what time they're from. And I'm guessing in whatever century you're from, there was love, there was cheesecake. So I think we're good.
Both of those are things I have to think about. But let's cue the good old days music. So, Kiara, have you ever heard of something called Pepsi Cola? And I'm not talking about the soft drinks, Pepsi or Coca-Cola.
No.
Pepsi Cola was the desserts that when I was in school, we used to have. And what it was like a plastic stick-like thingy, but it had a frozen liquid inside and was like usually a juice. It could be mango, it could be berry, some kind of flavor. And you'd kind of with your mouth bite open the plastic and then you just kind of suck on the frozen liquid. And that was a dessert. And it was called Pepsi Cola.
I've heard of Golas before, never Pepsi Cola.
So you've heard of Golas. Pepsi Cola is very different. There's a similarish concept. Golas are obviously the crushed ice and then you do Kala Khatta and various other flavors. But Pepsi Cola, I believe, I've not got this confirmed, was essentially a popsicle.
Mm-hmm.
Except somewhere along the way, the pronunciation of the word popsicle got a bit corrupted. So popsicle, popsicle, Pepsicle, popsicle, Pepsicle, Pepsi Cola. And so they were essentially popsicles that we used to have as kids. And they were, I was thinking about what you said. We didn't have cheesecake, or I never remember having cheesecake. There was a bit of love, but maybe people weren't as open about expressing it back then. I don't know. Separate conversation, maybe with other people. But I really enjoyed speaking to Ruchi.
Me too.
What did you take away from the episode?
So, Ruchyeta just went for it. She went with her gut, and I found that really amazing. And that's what I learned from today's episode. When she first heard about, the paintball come, and then she was like, "Oh, I should bring this to India." And so that's what she did. And she went with her instinct, and she did it right away. She took that action and she went straight for it. And, trusting her gut and going down the road less traveled, it's what's taken her to Love and Cheesecake, her calling.
That's very well said, actually. And you may have stumbled upon a core value in many businesses. I think one of Amazon's core values is bias for action, which is just do stuff. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be right, but just get it done, because not doing is worse than sometimes doing something that is 70-80% there. And what she did is that to the very next level, right? Like, yeah, paintball, let me get on a flight, let me go to California. So that was really cool. My takeaway was a little bit about, she had 2 entrepreneurial ventures. She had paintball, which was very successful. She said she was doing very well. But she then moved to Love and Cheesecake. She did paintball for 4 years. She's been doing Love and Cheesecake for 12, and it sounds like she wants to do it even longer, even further. And I think that's the difference for me between just doing an entrepreneurial venture that can still be successful to actually finding your calling. And she talked many times, it's like you said, Love and Cheesecake is that calling. She can see it as a real business. It's something she wants to build. And even when she first wanted to do something, she talked about a microbrewery. So So I think there was a food-drink connection always from the start. And so she's not just doing it for an exit. She's not just doing it for, oh, I'll make a lot of money or anything else. She's doing it because it's something she was born to do. And I think when that comes through, that energy is quite infectious.
It's the passion. Yeah.
That is true. But I think that is about as much time we have for today's episode.
See you next time on The Road Less Traveled.
Peace out, party people.